The first shot wasn't fired by a human. It never was these days. Orbit cracked under the weight of another Gorost dreadnought, its jagged silhouette blotting out the pale sun above Virex 3. Automated defenses spat vainly into the void. Pale flashes of light extinguished in silence. On the ground, the last of the Allied mechs were already slag. The Dominion had arrived. Again. And Earth had sent 4 humans to help. Captain Lexa Voss watched the descent from a jagged cliffside bunker, her expression unreadable beneath the HUD glow dancing across her eyes. She tapped the side of her helmet to cycle views. Infrared, seismic, then an old-fashioned topographical map with fresh, blinking hostiles flooding every quadrant. Behind her, the team waited in silence. None of them liked it when she went quiet. "Lex?" came a voice, half a smirk, half a warning. "That brooding stare of yours makes the rest of us nervous." Corporal Jace, Howler, Cade, leaned against the wall, chewing on a protein stick like it owed him money. His armor was half-zipped, scarred, and painted with a grinning skull that definitely wasn't regulation. "They're already here," Lexa said flatly, "and they're not wasting time." "Gorost rarely do," said Sergeant Orendero, adjusting the feedback coils on his gauntlet with practiced precision. "Straight lines, heavy fire, zero imagination. Good thing we brought ours." "By imagination, do you mean explosives?" Jace asked, eyes gleaming. "I mean strategy," Oren replied, not looking up. Jace shrugged. "Potato shrapnel?" Private Elira Noon sat perched beside a scorched console, legs tucked beneath her like a student at her first seminar. She was quiet, but watching. Always watching. Too young, Lexa thought. Too hopeful. But her record was flawless, and she had a habit of surviving things no one else did. "They're jamming the comms," Elira said, voice soft but steady. "Same signal spread they used at Fort Alaris." Lexa nodded, meaning they expect resistance, and they don't think it'll matter. A grim chuckle rippled through the team. Of course the Gorost didn't expect trouble. Earth wasn't known for military prowess, unless you counted stubbornness, duct tape, and wildly unsafe combat innovations. Lexa stood, her voice sharpened. "Recon shows a battalion headed for Relay Point 6. If they take it, the Council loses the uplink. We lose air cover. We hold it. The fleet gets breathing room." "Let me guess," said Jace. "We're the breathing room?" Lexa pulled her rifle from the wall bracket, slinging it over her shoulder with finality. Number We're the Storm. The Gorost formation approached in textbook precision. 4 armored crawlers flanked by aerial drones and quad-legged siege walkers, all moving with perfect, synchronized malice. Team Voss hit them like a bar fight in a fireworks factory. The first crawler exploded before it even spotted them. Jace's handiwork, a mix of pressure mines and subsonic screamers buried in the gravel. The second was blinded by a swarm of reprogrammed survey bots, hijacked by Oren with a grim smile and 30 lines of jury-rigged code. Elira dropped into the chaos with a grapnel launcher and a stolen plasma blade, tearing through drone wings with terrifying grace. Her eyes were wide, her breaths ragged, but she didn't hesitate. And Lexa moved like inevitability. No wasted motion, no flashy displays. She wove through the chaos, directing fire, calling shots, keeping the team alive. Not a hero, not a legend, just someone who refused to lose. A Gorost commander, taller than 2 men and plated in obsidian armor, roared into the comms with cold fury. "Human units detected, not standard infantry. Reinforcements?" Lexa smirked. "Hardly." She flicked a switch on her gauntlet. Her voice, distorted but clear, echoed across the battlefield. "This is Earth Team Voss. 4 humans, that's all. You wanted a war? You got one. Another crawler went up in smoke. The Goros tried to adapt, reconfiguring patrols, pulling air support, but it was too late. The humans fought like nothing they'd seen before. No formation, no pattern, no predictability. They used the terrain, the enemy's own tech, even each other's momentum. Improvisation as an art form, chaos as strategy. And when the last walker fell, hijacked by Orin and piloted off a cliff by a howling Jace, there was only silence. After the battle, the ridge was eerily still. Smoke curled through shattered hulls. The humans regrouped in the shell of a broken crawler. Lexa removed her helmet, sweat streaking the dust on her face. She looked at each of them, Orin calculating behind tired eyes, Elira breathing fast but still standing, Jace bleeding and grinning like a lunatic. "You good?" she asked them. "Define good," said Orin, wiping green blood off his boots. "I broke 2 ribs," Jace said cheerfully. "Also stole their captain's sword. It's ridiculously heavy. I love it." Elira smiled faintly. "They underestimated us." "They always do," Lexa replied. A message crackled through the static, weak but audible, one of the council officers monitoring from orbit. Shocked, disbelieving. "Team Voss, confirm. Did you engage the Goros battalion alone?" Lexa stared at the broken horizon, the smoke of the battlefield, the shimmer of the stars above. "Confirmed," she said. There was a pause, then quieter. "How?" Lexa's lips curled into a razor-thin smile. "We're not soft," she said. "We're human." The dropship rattled like a rusted tin can in a blender. Heat bloomed across its hull as atmospheric friction screamed against the plating. Inside, Team Voss waited. Elira Noon clenched the strap above her seat, white-knuckled. Her lips moved silently, counting. It wasn't a prayer, exactly. Just a habit, a rhythm to keep the fear caged. Across from her, Orin Darrow tapped at his forearm terminal, eyes flicking between schematics. "Shield relays are buried beneath the crust. Goros design, redundant, armored, inefficient." "We'll fix that," said Jace, grinning. He was sharpening a knife far too large to be practical. "Maybe we send him back the pieces gift-wrapped." Lexa's voice cut through the tension. "Focus." Their mission was simple, in theory. Disable the planetary shield generator before the Gorazd Warfleet arrived. In practice, it meant infiltrating a fortified canyon installation surrounded by drones, mines, and cliffs that didn't care whether you were a soldier or just gravity's next snack. Lexa looked at her team. "Insertion in 90 seconds. No backup. No extraction window." Jace cracked his knuckles. "So the usual." "Less talking, more surviving," Orin muttered, closing his terminal. The dropship screamed into a banking dive. Lexa pulled her helmet on. "Go loud." The canyon welcomed them with gunfire. Twin anti-air turrets spat plasma at the descending ship. Lexa's boots hit the ground before the ramp finished lowering. She rolled into cover, snapping off a shot that shredded one turret's power conduit. Sparks erupted like a sunburst. "Left flank, on me!" she shouted. Jace surged forward, twin pistols barking. "Covering, also screaming!" Elira dashed between boulders, eyes darting, spotting drone signatures hidden in the cliff faces. "Incoming swarm. 70 meters, vector 39. Orin peeled off toward the side path, planting devices along the rock face. "Buy me 2 minutes." "Take 1, Lexa snapped, already vaulting over a broken ridge. The swarm came fast, black chitinous things with spinning limbs and razor wings. Elira opened fire, her weapon humming with overcharge, each shot a surgical strike. When her rifle overheated, she didn't hesitate, switching to shock darts, then to a captured Gorazd blade. Jace fought with reckless joy, laughing between every shot. This is therapy. Expensive, very loud therapy. Lexa coordinated through the chaos, every motion precise. No orders wasted, no second guesses. She moved like a veteran in her own gravity field, centered, unshakable. Oren's voice cut in. Charges set? Lexa clicked her comm. Do it. The rock wall collapsed inward, sealing the swarm's rear flank beneath a crush of debris. Dust rolled through the canyon in a choking cloud. Oren joined them, brushing rubble from his armor. Improvised path. Keep moving. The installation loomed ahead, jagged metal teeth embedded in the cliff, shield pylons pulsing with alien energy. They had to get inside, shut down the core, and escape before the Gorast fleet arrived in orbit. All with 4 people and a bag of borderline insane tech. Elira hesitated at the control gate. This encryption's triple-layered. I can't break it in time. Oren stepped up, cracking his knuckles. You're thinking like an engineer. I'm thinking like a saboteur. He opened a panel, shoved a carbon filament into the power relay, and poured half a water flask into the thermal vent. The gate exploded. Jace coughed through the smoke. That was your plan? Oren smirked. Entropy always wins. Inside the facility, alarms howled. Automated defenses activated. Sentry bots, neurogas vents, flickering anti-personnel beams. The humans adapted. Elira redirected coolant lines to freeze security panels. Jace rewired a motion sensor to recognize him as authorized personnel, then walked past, waving smugly. Lexa rerouted an elevator's power core into a short-range EMP blast to clear a hallway. Remind me again, Oren muttered, prying a stuck bulkhead open with a wrench. How we're too primitive for galactic warfare. Because we don't fight pretty, Lexa said. We fight dirty. They reached the core chamber with 20 minutes to detonation window. Shield pylons hummed above a reactor that pulsed like a heartbeat. Elira started scanning the systems, fingers flying. I can shut it down, but not from here. I need access to the central conduit beneath the chamber. That's a suicide crawl, Oren warned. Lexa didn't blink. You go, we'll cover. Elira swallowed, nodded once. On it. She vanished into the crawl space. Above, the Gorast launched their counterattack. Dozens of armored soldiers swarmed the chamber. Lexa, Oren, and Jace held the line with brutal efficiency. Jace launched himself off a railing to tackle a commander, howling gleefully as they both tumbled into a pipe network. Be back in 5, or dead, he yelled. Lexa moved like ice and lightning, cool precision and sharp brutality. Her rifle emptied. She switched to a blade, then to a downed enemy's weapon. Oren used a plasma cutter as a shield, laughing through gritted teeth as he repelled shock troops. This is not OSHA compliant. Elira's voice came through the comm, tight with focus. Conduit unlocked. Rerouting shield output, now. The reactor blinked, then dimmed. The external pylons shut down one by one, flickering out like dying stars. In orbit, the Council fleet screamed into the atmosphere, freed from the planetary blockade. The sky ignited with friendly fire. The Gorast fell back, scrambling to retreat. Inside, Lexa dropped to one knee, panting. Her team was alive. Barely. Jace crawled out of a ceiling vent, bloodied and grinning. So, we win? Lexa nodded. We win. Oren wiped soot from his visor. That was technically impossible. We're not technical, Lexa said. We're human. Back on the ridge, Elira stood alone, watching the sky burn. Lexa joined her, quiet. I thought I'd be more afraid, Elira said. You still can be, Lexa replied. Courage doesn't erase fear, just chooses to act anyway. Elira smiled. They said we couldn't survive this war. Lexa looked out across the shattered canyon. Let's prove them wrong again tomorrow. Define extraction, Jace muttered, ducking beneath a spiraling bolt of green energy that vaporized a support beam above him. Lexa didn't look up from her scope. What you're doing right now? Not that. We're 3 clicks off the evac point, and your brilliant route took us straight into a nest of sky burrowers. Technically, Oren said from a nearby console he was frantically rewiring, they're suborbital adaptive tunneling drones. Technically, Jace snapped, I don't care! Elira sprinted across the debris field, cloak flaring, her breath ragged. One of them's flanking high, northeast ridge. Lexa turned, fired once. The burrower's core exploded in a blossom of silver flame. She stood slowly, dust rising around her. Keep moving. The terrain wasn't terrain anymore. Virex 3's crust had buckled from the orbital bombardment. Rolling hills turned to molten fractures, roads swallowed by tectonic chasms. What used to be a path out was now a wasteland of jagged glass and boiling sinkholes. The Gorost weren't just losing, they were angry. And a Gorost angry enough to abandon tactics was as dangerous as a cornered predator. Team Voss ran low on everything. Power cells, ammo, water, adrenaline. Only their sheer human stubbornness kept them standing. And even that was fraying. Lexa didn't show it, wouldn't, but her gait was slowing. Her left hand never stopped shaking after she caught a plasma burn 2 hours ago. Oren walked with a limp. He hadn't said a word about it. But the rest of the team noticed. Jace still joked, but less often. And when he did, it was quieter. Brittle. Only Elira seemed untouched, except she had stopped blinking, stopped hesitating. She had become something else in the crucible of their last mission. Enemy patrol ahead, she said, crouched beside a shattered comm tower. 2 mechs, 10 troopers, 1 sniper. Lexa considered their options. Jace was already crawling into a culvert. I'm gonna do something stupid. Define stupid, Oren asked wearily. You'll know it when you hear it. They heard it 5 minutes later. First the scream, then the detonation. A Gorost mech went airborne, sailing in a magnificent arc before crashing through a rock arch. Jace emerged from the crater, suit half melted, carrying what looked like an alien accordion. I found a fusion horn, rewired it. Turns out it doesn't like feedback loops. Lexa stared at him. You should be dead. I almost was, he said cheerfully. But then I remembered I'm awesome. Oren walked past him, muttering, It's not ego if it works. By nightfall, they reached the evac ridge. Too late. The transport had been shot down, its blackened husk still smoldering, half submerged in a tar pit. Elira scanned it. Flight log was transmitting until 20 minutes ago. Someone survived. Lexa looked to the sky. A second wave of Gorost destroyers eclipsed the stars. We're not getting off-world, Jace stretched his neck. So, Plan B? There is no Plan B, Oren said flatly. There is now, Lexa replied. We turn this into a signal beacon. Long wave, encrypted. Short burst, enough for the fleet to trace it, assuming they're still listening, Oren muttered. They are, Elira said with quiet certainty. Lexa nodded. Then we hold the ridge. We make our stand here. Jace grinned, pulling free the accordion-looking device again. Okay, but I am naming this thing before we die. They set up defenses with what they had. Salvaged drone parts, improvised mines, heat coils rerouted into flame arcs. Oren crafted a magnetic field scrambler out of a fuel cell and a coffee pot. Elira jury-rigged a tower antenna using cabling, fencing, and the spine of a dead mech. When the first wave came, it was chaos. And the humans, they danced in it. Elira moved with terrifying calm, redirecting drone strikes into their own lines. Oren hacked their pathfinding to send half the Gorazd foot soldiers marching in circles. Jace dual-wielded a plasma blade and a grenade launcher, screaming, "Yeet!" with every throw. Lexa held the center. Her eyes burned with focus. She fought not like a commander, but like a force. She was their anchor, and every time they wavered, they looked to her. The signal beacon finally activated, brief, sharp, bright. Now they just had to survive long enough for someone to answer it. Hours passed. The ridge was blood and metal, bodies smoking, ammo gone. The Gorazd had sent everything, and still the humans stood. But barely. Lexa's visor was cracked. She had a limp. Her voice rasped from smoke. Oren was down to a plasma torch. Jace held a broken rifle like a club. Elira bled from a dozen cuts, but her eyes were on fire. They were tired, hurt, but alive. "Final wave incoming," Elira said. "Odds?" Jace asked. Oren laughed dryly. "Statistically, impossible." Lexa gritted her teeth. "Then let's make it historical." They formed a line, back to back, surrounded by smoke and ruin. No more jokes, no more plans, just the last breath before the end. Then, light. From above, the clouds ripped open, engines roared, drop pods screamed down like comets, and the voice that came through the comm was sweet music. "Earth fleet has eyes on the ridge. Reinforcements inbound." Jace whooped. Elira let out a shaking laugh. Oren collapsed to his knees, grinning. Lexa exhaled once. They showed up. "Damn right," said Jace, wiping his nose. "Because humans don't leave their own behind." Reinforcements hit the ground like thunder made flesh. Earth Fleet's elite shock troopers surged over the ridge, encased in modular armor that gleamed under the battle-scarred sky. They weren't clean. They weren't pristine. They were human. Grimy, dented and grinning like madmen. And behind them, rising like a mountain of vengeance, came the real game-changer. Project Goliath. A bipedal warframe 20 meters tall stomped down with enough force to rattle the spine. Cannons hissed to life. Artillery plates unfolded. The war machine bore no house colors, no crest. Just a name etched across its chest in blocky, defiant Terran script. Built by hands that bleed. Lexa stared in awe, momentarily stunned. They deployed a Goliath? Jace wiped grime off his face. "I thought those were still experimental." "Everything's experimental the first time," Oren coughed, half conscious and half laughing. Elira stood at full height, eyes shining. "It's beautiful." The sky above burned with streaks of Allied ships diving into combat. Earthfleet wasn't here to extract. They were here to end it. And Lexa knew what came next. "Command wants us to lead the push into the forward citadel," came the comm. "You've cleared the path. Now light the fuse." She looked at her battered team. "You heard them." Jace cracked his neck. "One last ride?" Oren limped to his feet. "I rigged a mech leg to my knee. I'm functionally unstable." "Same," Elira said softly. She loaded her last battery into her rifle. "Let's show them how unstable humans can really be." The assault on the Gorazd citadel was nothing short of cinematic chaos. The humans moved like fluid shadows, each step unpredictable. The Goliath smashed open the outer walls with its gauntlet-mounted pile drivers, flinging defensive turrets like toys. Earthfleet soldiers poured through the breach, synchronized but not robotic, each adapting mid-move, mid-fight, because that's what humans did best. The Gorazd expected uniformity, logic, battle doctrine. They got madness. They got humanity. Inside the citadel, Lexa led her team through pulse-lit corridors choked with smoke and fire. They moved like an extension of each other, No wasted movements, no orders needed. The Gorazd core command chamber was waiting. 8 elite warriors, psionic inhibitors, kinetic shielding, the best their empire had bred. The humans didn't blink. Orin jammed their inhibitors with a frequency built from whale song and engine noise. Elira used a magnetic pulse to turn their shielding into a trap, locking their exosuits mid-move. Jace opened with a feint, a flashbang, and a roar that made even Lexa flinch. Then she moved. Lexa danced between them like a storm given purpose. Her blade flickered. Her fists cracked armor. She was tired, wounded, and unstoppable. 10 seconds later, it was over. Gorazd Command lay in ruins. On the Citadel roof, they watched Earth Fleet finish the job. The last enemy cruisers fled orbit, limping and smoking. The sky belonged to humanity now. Command hailed them. You just forced the Gorazd into retreat. Their command structure is shattered. Victory is confirmed. Repeat, victory is confirmed. Lexa let herself lean against the railing. Her limbs felt like they might fall off. We did it, Elira whispered. Orin sat down hard. No one's ever going to believe this wasn't propaganda. Jace laughed. So let's make it propaganda. They called us too soft for the stars, too fragile, too emotional, too wild. But it wasn't our muscle that turned the tide. It wasn't the Goliath. It was 4 worn-out soldiers who refused to die, refused to quit, and redefined what it meant to be human in the eyes of the galaxy. We didn't win because we were stronger. We won because we changed the game. And the galaxy would never play it the same way again.